Yo, boys and girls, just making this video in case you missed it. If you've been playing Torchlight this season, maybe you're already finished with it. I know I am. Typically, the lifespan of a Torchlight season doesn't really exceed maybe a few weeks. But they know this, and they have tried combating it. But this season, they've actually implemented a new thing where they're going to start doing what they're calling pre-seasons. But think of it more as a mid-season. So instead of, you've got Season 3, Season 4, well, this is now like a 0.5. So it's a completely separate, fresh start with some crazy affixes applied to it. It doesn't go core as far as we know, and the stuff that you get gets voided. So this gives them the opportunity to obviously make it as crazy as possible, right? And what we've seen today is the actual way that it works. So I'll try to find, you can watch this video if you like, I'll link in the description. It's kind of funny, but I think they did it with AI voice or something. But basically, here we go.
Additionally, when the hunter increases their movement,
upon entering a stage, the hunter will automatically release their main skill after moving a certain distance. And you can actually see from the video, it doesn't seem to be particularly far that you have to travel. It's like moving one step and it's triggering. So it doesn't seem particularly far. So everyone's kind of like a Castle and channeling build by default. And this has some very, very big implications as to what you could do. So there are a few questions we need answered onto how it works mechanically. But essentially, everyone's Castle and channeling, and also when you scale your move speed, it's also going to scale your damage. So heroes like Thea, who get a lot of base movement speed, or Erica, who also benefits a lot from move speed, mechanics that give you move speed, so things like evasion stacking, or just if you go in like Path of Flames with 2 hammers, if you recall the Rayhan build I actually put out this season on the build list, you can get an additional move speed multiplier on your one-handed hammers. It can give you almost 100% additional move speed when you've got 2 of them on. So you can get an insane amount of move speed. Let's not even go into the world where you have an Eternity or the city's active, so you can get the candles that give you even more move speed. You can get really ridiculous. So this opens up some opportunities for characters that might not be that good to actually have a chance to, pop off. Initially, for some builds, it's only going to be like double damage, and then whatever the move speed converts to into your damage. So at least maybe 2 or 3 times damage than you would normally have on a build that always benefits from this kind of stuff anyway. But other builds are just going to come into existence. Think of if you ever wanted to use Berserking Blade with a gun because you want to use that crazy peculiar vibe mod and trigger it with Berserking Blade. If multi-strike works, then Erica seems like she's going to be insane because you're always going to have, you're always going to finish your multi-strike. If you want to play Seething Rayhan and you want not only your guy to be attacking whilst he's on your back, but you will automatically attack as you move as well. There are endless possibilities and endless things you could try with this from a build perspective. But not only that, there is new loot. So they have added into every zone, there will be 3 chests. Now, if you've ever clicked one of these chests in one of the high tier maps, you will know that they absolutely spit out loot. So every single zone is going to have 3 goddess chests that are going to drop absolutely tons of loot. So obviously, as you get into those high tiers that you're going to want to do, I can imagine this absolutely raining. They said it's akin to about a 300% increase in quantity of items dropped. So even if the player base may be a bit smaller with it being, a mid-season patch, you're going to still be able to have access to all those crazy items, assuming, the market's got the items on them, or if you even want to farm them yourself. The acquisition of items has got a lot better this season if you didn't play it. Because this is another good thing. Maybe you didn't get finished with Path of Exile. Path of Exile was only 3 weeks into its season when the previous Torchlight season released. So if you missed that and you're like, oh, damn, I've got a bit of a craving for some Torchlight, maybe Diablo's not doing it for you. Well, here you go. You got an opportunity on the 26th of October. Now, as well as those chests, there are going to be additional Netherrealm bosses in every map. Maybe they've got some loot modifiers, stuff like that, or maybe it's just for something else to kill while you're in the map. But yep, they're going to be roaming around. We've got these. What else have we got? We've got some new items. But first, we'll see how we get these items. So when completing any zone, you've got an opportunity to get like a ticket. Think of it like a unique map, maybe. If you play Path of Exile, you're going to get like a unique map. You complete the map, and then you can open this chest. And this chest is going to have a lot of good things in it. The first thing I noticed when I saw this was he drops a Corner of Divinity in one of the clips, which means you can actually get like legendary slates from this. So all those good ones that are normally really hard to acquire, maybe they're going to be pretty easy to acquire this time around. You see a Corner of Divinity. So the thing you'd normally have to do the cube for, well, you can get it from this chest. Or even legendary hero memories, hero relics. Those things that are really hard to get, you're going to have access to. Also, these div cards actually give quite high value things. So I think the acquisition of items is going to be really, really easy in this season. It's just going to be all the fun allowed kind of season by the looks of it. And for me, that's great because Torchlight is kind of like that arcadey style, right? You just want to go in, make a build and blast. And, you know, this kind of sings true to that. Absolutely. Very, very cool. So I don't know how frequently we're going to get those tickets. It doesn't really say. But there are also some unique legendary items that they've kind of modified to make them for this. So you can see here, Exquisite Box typically gives, 40% CDR, and it triggers things on a cooldown of 0.75. Well, ignore that and get this one that makes you do up to 96% additional triggered skill damage. And remember, your main skill in this season is a triggered skill. But not only that, your triggered skills will cast on a 0.3 second interval. So you don't need to scale cooldown, because obviously this 0.75 is typically scaled by cooldown, so you could probably get it lower than this 0.3. But because it's an interval, you don't actually have to bother with any cooldown, because it's not going to affect that main skill anyway, because that's based on how much you move, not based on how much cooldown you have. So this interval of 0.3 makes box really good. This new box really good. Definitely going to be one of the key items you want to try and find in this new season, if you don't just want to throw an eternity on, like I'm sure most people will. Then we have double rainbow. So yeah, just a little bit better. I mean, I'm not really too sure about it. 10 to 12 instead of 8 to 11, and -8 additional damage taken when 2 resistances match. I don't know. Sure, a little bit more damage. That one seems a bit weird to me. I don't know. That seems like a bit of a waste, but whatever. This one, obviously, you lose the cannot deal wilt damage modifier from the Chaos Abyss. This is already a pretty good pair of gloves if you can use them correctly. But now you lose the cannot deal wilt damage, and you also have a much higher chance to apply more wilt stacks, but you can only inflict 500. But with these gloves, you are going to be inflicting 500 most of the time, I imagine, if you're playing a build that actually synergizes with this stuff. And you're then going to be reducing the enemy elemental and erosion resistance for each one. So obviously 250 negative resistance is pretty good for damage, as I'm sure you can imagine. So you can see here, this is kind of an example of one of the builds that I expect to be very, very strong, which is just Berserking Blade Erica. You just run around. This one is Icy Ring. You can see just how many times it's triggering, and this is obviously with Spell Burst, so it's going to be a bit more. But you can really see how you don't need to move very far for it to trigger. And this, maybe you could use something like Blink Bow, and then you've got a perma Blink Bow that you cast it once, and then it just keeps triggering itself if it works that way. Who knows? Yeah, really cool. I just wanted to make this video because this is something I think Torchlight needs to do. It needs to, take advantage of the fact that it's just fun to play. It's just fun to get in there and kill mobs and get loot. Now, maybe some of the things you might be a bit bothered about if you are someone that thinks this game is pay to win. They are adding a seasonal pass to this season. The caveat being, if you get this seasonal pass, you can earn the season pass for the following season. So if you buy this one and you play the season enough to get the free one for the next season, well, then you won't have to buy it next time. So kind of like a pre-purchase on next season's battle pass, assuming you're going to play the preseason. Something you can do if you want to do that. I will definitely be doing that. They are also adding, this one's really cringe. I don't know what to say about this. The premium tabs are my least favorite thing in this game. The fact that you can buy them is kind of lame to me, but I mean, I think the idea, if we're talking from a, naive perspective, is they want people to list things on the auction house because there's going to be less people playing. But, I'm sure people won't buy that excuse, right? I think they just want to sell tabs. But, it is what it is. It's fine. They need to make their money, right? They play a great game. They got to make their months. Now, after the preseason ends, you can see at the bottom here, the data will not be merged. But any account level rewards or season pass that you earn will be distributed via the mail. Any treasures you've carefully collected will be gone. All right. And there will also be a pet, apparently, for this season. Not sure what it's going to do because the seasonal mechanic is typically something that benefits you loot-wise. This one doesn't really, right? It's more like a gimmick. Or maybe it's something that affects that chest in the unique map that we saw. Who knows? But we shall see. And I will keep you guys updated with maybe some builds that I'm looking to play when this actually goes live on the 26th of October. You can catch me streaming it on twitch.tv. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you had a good time, and I will see you very soon in a week. Or if you're watching this later, well, a few days. Bye-bye.